Let me know when it's working.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I think we are good to go. It would be cool if somebody could confirm that there's audio coming through and the video's coming through.
I'll just let everybody know. I will send them.
I'm just going to get going here with the hired gun origin story.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So this is Broken Roads. This is our first ever dev live play with commentary. My name's Craig. I'm the founder of Drop Bear Bytes and the game director on Broken Roads. And with me is Tim Sunderland, who is our audio lead and composer. And we are going to, play a bit of this game and talk about it and answer questions on Discord and Steam chat. All right, let's get into it. Have you got confirmation that it's all running well, Tim?
No, not yet. Not yet. It's not working for me on our page.
Okay, then I'm going to pause here and see what we've got to do.
For some reason, it just won't show it on mine.
What I'm hoping is that the time zone hasn't changed or anything.
Shouldn't matter too much.
There we go.
Why is it not? It's so weird.
So you have to go to the event page and view it there. I'm wondering why it's not displaying on the actual page, on the game page itself. Anyway, it does seem to be working if you go to the Steam page and you click on the actual event, and then it should appear in the drop down. So, see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Now I think we can get into this.
Beauty.
Cool. And can you just monitor the Steam chat and see if there are questions and Discord chat and so on? Cool. All right. So, as always happens, getting started, a little bit of hiccups to try and even find the stream in the first place. But right, here we go. So this is Broken Roads. This is the start of one of the 4 origin stories. So what we've got so far, when you create your character, obviously your attributes and your stats and your skills, and you answer a few moral questions to define where you start the game on the moral compass, which I'll chat about a little bit later. And then you choose one of 4 origin stories. Those are the hired gun, which is basically like a mercenary or a gun for hire, like it sounds. You could be a part of a barter crew, so you sort of got a merchant and trading background. You can be a surveyor, which is, in the world of Broken Roads, people are looking for new trade routes or seeking out settlements that they didn't know about, or because we've got no central communications, the phone lines, there's no phones, the old roads are dangerous, and people might have, say, fled the cities before things really turned bad and the apocalypse came along and created the shit show that you see now in I guess 150 years from now in WA. We've got settlements, trade routes, all these unknown things. The surveyor's role is to basically plot those out, do contracts. Maybe a surveyor will be finding a new trade route and they'll sell that to a barter crew, or a surveyor might need to work with the hired gun because they don't have the muscle to defend themselves. And then the 4th origin story is a jackaroo, which is basically an Australian cowboy, somebody who works on cattle ranches and just more of a jack of all trades, an all-rounder. And each one of these will have a few stats that they affect. You start in slightly different locations. You'll meet different characters earlier in the game. You'll get companions at different times. But there is a sort of convergence point where the game kind of takes you forward regardless of the origin stories. And those will affect how you can complete certain quests. You might get unique dialogue options. It might affect how people respond to you as well. And different trainers, different characters that have a relationship with you that improve your skills or improve what you can do based upon your origin story. All right, so just starting here with the hired gun, and I'm busy talking to Ella. She is one of the scouts, and this is Valley Hall, and they are descendants from doomsday preppers that left Perth and got set up at a location near Brookton in WA. So this is all set in the wheat belt. It starts off in the wheat belt area of Western Australia, and pretty much every location that you see is based on a real place in WA. And we drove around a couple of years ago, took a whole load of photos, looked at these spots, by starting off by looking at Google Maps and then getting into Google Earth and doing Google Street View and finding really interesting places and reading up about them, and then planned a route and drove around and took photos and that looks different to how it might have looked on Google Maps or Wikipedia or whatever it was, and ended up modeling and painting and so on the images and buildings and locations, and we'll get a little bit more into that when we get into Merredin. But Bally Hall, let's say you were to look it up on Street View, look it up on Google Maps and look it up on Street View, you'll definitely be able to recognize the brickwork, the stonework, the doors. All these things are authentic. This exact building is right there, for instance. So that's something that's definitely influenced us while we have been developing the game to date.
It's always been really cool to see reference photos and then what the art team produce for the levels and the level design come together. And it's just like, oh, that's really cool looking at real life places.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So now, I've just been tasked with meeting everyone because I've come along and basically trying out to be a new hired gun because the last person that arrived met a pretty unfortunate end, and they basically want to test me out and make sure that I got the mettle to do the jobs that are required. So I've just been told to meet the rest of the scouts, introduce myself. This is Jonesy. He's a character with a little bit of a background in he's got no patience when it comes to raiders, just like his father, who happens to be the mayor of one of the towns. And as explained, hey, you got to meet everyone, and Jake, who is the leader of the scouts, has tasked us with, hey, meet everyone, check out Bally Hall, and then you're going to help us with a pretty milk run style escort job to Kokeby Way Station, which is a nearby trading hub. So this is an example of how you can set up what your character's background was and your relationship with other people by choosing, truth or lies, basically, or just to be outright rude. And what you select here just basically is true. So when you play and you choose something that is truth, the game will remember that and it'll sort of log those decisions. Or if it's not, that you might get some reactivity about that later if you lied, and then there's something that would make it sort of relevant in a quest or a conversation point later. So I'm just going to say, yep, like I've killed a lot of people and I'm really here to do some damage, Jonesy's like a little hot-headed, not afraid to get into a fight, but now he's kind of trying to interrogate me and see what I'm all about as well. So here's one of the first moral questions that we get. It's very, very low level. Obviously, this being the opening scene, we just get introduced players to basic moral questions. These are more personality framing than ethical dilemmas. These sort of set what your character is like. As you can see, the image of the moral compass down here, each of the dots represents where on the moral compass those options sit. So the closer to the inside of the compass, it's not at all an extreme decision. It's a very sort of low level, as we're calling it, moral choice. And it might not even be a moral choice. It might just show your leaning, really. And then these four colored areas within, that's what's called your conviction. And that shows how dedicated to a particular moral path you are. So the golden arc that you can see is your worldview. And that represents the full range of choices and decisions and thoughts and concepts that occur to your character. And when you make a decision, that will shift around, it'll broaden, it'll narrow, depending on the distance from where your character currently is and the choices you're going to make. So right now we're exposing the outcome of a choice. That is the red arc that you can see. That's a preview arc. And we're also showing the quadrant that each of the decisions fits into. But we will more than likely at launch hide these from the player, because I just think all the research and all the testing is showing that people will always try to game this. People tend to try to play good. And if we were to go, that route, I think it's just going to detract a little bit. So because intention is super important to the moral compass, like why did you do that thing? We want the players to be able to explain themselves. We don't want to have a disconnect between the player's intent and what they thought was going to be happening, to their morality. So characters will be able to ask you about your choices later. We're not necessarily going to stop the action and have a full, deep and meaningful conversation about why you did that particular thing that'll screw up the game pacing and so on. So what we'll have instead is that your companions might ask you about something later. You might be sitting around a campfire and the game will remember the decisions that you made and they'll chat to you about it then at key game moments. Again, now here's just Jonesy busy talking about going to see his father, who is the mayor of a town we'll get to a little bit later, and got to update him on the kill count. And now you can kind of show your character's response, and what you do will sort of not only affect your reputation with the scouts, but also set in stone, for now at least, your attitude towards certain things. So you can be a humanist, which in our definition here is considering the dignity of all people. So it's not so much about myself or the group, but just that all people have worth. But you're not really acting utilitarian, which is the greatest good for the greatest number. And nor are you being Machiavellian, which is the good of my group as opposed to the good of the greatest number. Nor are you being nihilistic, which is the good of me and my dignity matters most, or I matter most. And I, define my morality. We're trying to get away from just overly simplistic takes on, well, Machiavellian's bad and nihilism doesn't care about anything and humanist is always good. You probably would find that utilitarian and humanist options might tend towards more what we might think about as good or nice or caring or kind, but we aren't using the concepts of good and evil or right and wrong in this game. That's really part of what the moral compass was inspired to get away from. Cool. So we've met Jonesy. Now I'm going to chat to Mad, and I'm fully expecting the new build to, as expected, we're going to go and talk to face the wall and talk to Mad, who is the hardcore, one of the hardcore scouts, and she's kind of on the lookout. And she says, look, will you go and check the perimeter fence? You got to do these basic tasks, make sure that it's secure, look for anything that's broken, and come back and report. Now this is an optional quest early in the game to get the player to understand, fog of war, conversations, triggered interactions, skills getting used. And there is a snake. This is
Look at
awesome,
that beautiful snake.
There we go.
So cool.
Awesome VFX from our VFX artist Ryan. There's a little lizard running away. So we've got these little bits and pieces that come up. So I'm just going to run around because Mad has said, hey, you're going to be here. It's not just about shooting people. And Ella's just spotted something. So she's seen that there's something in the fence. You can go, is it raiders? Do you want to put yourself out there? And you say, yeah, maybe raiders. And she's kind of starts laughing at you and says it's, there's nobody coming looking for shit here. It's just dingoes trying to scratch their way in, but so now she's remembered that, and she could probably tease me about, talking about raiders and attacking and that kind of thing. You'll see as the personalities get a little bit more fleshed out. Now, because I have a high enough awareness stat, my insight has just triggered a thing where I've spotted a piece of corrugated iron board coming loose. So I'm going to tell Ella to have a look. And there's a loose spot, and I've actually identified one of them. She takes a look, and that's now, obviously this is a work in progress journal, but just so you know, we found a couple of the things that Mad was asking us to look for. I just ran over another snake. So yeah, these are the optional quests. The only thing you have to do at this point is talk to everybody at Valley Hall, and then you can move on to the next sequence. So I'm just going to wrap that up, and then we can look at something else. This pretty quickly. Is there anybody in the chat or anybody asking questions, or maybe?
No, not at the moment. Okay. No, it's pretty early on Sunday morning.
Daylight savings.
Too early for gamers on Sunday morning. Exactly. Yeah, daylight savings.
And people around the world, they're all too busy playing New World, I think it is, which seems to have just like exploded. Cool. Let's have a quick chat with Cole so we can finish this quest. Cole is a tinkerer. He's, he would essentially be a blacksmith. He is a mechanic. He's you can do your upgrades. He is one of your companions after a particular point in the game. So now we just have to meet him, and he's been here to help fix the solar system. The solar panel system and the radio tower, because it had gone down, and we're going to have to escort him to Kokobi Way Station, where he'll be meeting up with people from Brookton. So we can just ask him about that, and that ticks off one of those quest requirements. And now the final one that I'm going to have to meet is Mishti. Her nickname is Dreamer. She's been with the Scouts for quite a while. An integral part of, I think she's busy taking inventory right now. Integral part of the team over here, and have a brief chat. Now we can again get another one that is, as you can see, super low level choices here, really just defining our personality. And let's get this out of the way.
Did you want to have any gameplay audio coming through, Craig?
Yep, can do. Just one sec. I'll finish this conversation because I can hear it lightly in my end. So I'll crank it up and you tell me what you can hear. Okay. Done. Cool.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good actually.
So it's a little bit louder.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. So yes, there's a bit more to do here, but we'll skip ahead to another section. I'll complete this. All right. So what do we think of the place? Should we tell him it's a bit of a shithole, really? Sure, why?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
be honest.
We're here to shoot people, not necessarily make friends. Cool. All right, let's go back. And Mishti's just really walking between us. Good luck. I think we're ready to go. Yep, we've wrapped up. Let's get moving. We're out of here. Cool. Don't be stupid. No wases. And we will let you read all of the dialogue another time. Cool. All right, so here now we've just left town, we're on our way, and of course we've come across a not too unfamiliar scene in the world of broken roads. Let's have a look at what is going on. So, looks like a camel cart without a camel. Makeshift carts with better days. So yeah, look, it's definitely something not good, because this little kid over here, he's not looking too happy right now. Let's talk to the mom and get the brief of it. So let's see. Let's just be rude to her. Why not?
Yeah.
Ella is. Where is she running off to? This is
Where's she going?
Good old first stream bugs.
She's gonna pull the rickshaw. Yep.
Totally. Cool. Let's just agree to talk to the son. Now, I just know where we're at with this build. This guy's holding a knife, even though he's meant to be holding a pistol, and he's going to shake the knife at me like it's a pistol. But this kind of gives us an example of one of the scenarios. What we've happened across here is this young boy has ended up killing his father. His mom is in a strange sobbing loop over there. And we now get to have an actual, moral decision that would require how we've created our characters. You can see this humanist option is within our, it's just within our worldview. This Machiavellian one, however, is completely unavailable to the character we're playing now. Had we had slightly different character creation and made different choices along the way, this would most likely be within our worldview. Let's just take this and just be kind to the guy. Yep, cool. And now she's not really... Mishti is somebody who doesn't really like conflict if she can avoid it, while she's fully good at handling herself with weapons and so on. She'd have to be being part of the Scouts. She's there to be the negotiator. If she can save bullets and prevent bloodshed, that's what she's going to do. So let's let her take the lead, and we can just kind of observe, because I think with my character makeup and some of the options available to me, it might be best to let Mishti take care of this one. All right. just being very, very kind and showing, there are other options that I don't want to give away right now, depending on the player build. There are quite a lot of outcomes here. You can actually shoot the guy to try and stop him from killing himself because of the despair of killing his father. I would rather let Dreamer take care of this, So, as you can see, he's also very, very distraught.
Devastated.
Yeah, he's devastated. So, kind of wanted to briefly run through that one. Obviously, still in development, and with a character that I've made, going down a particular path would spoil something. So, we'll show that off another time. But here we are at Kokobi Way Station. So we've managed to escort Cole. He's going to go and run off and do his own thing, and probably connect with some other mechanic nerd in another part of the map. But yeah, so it's up to us now to just kind of have a look around and see what this Kokobi Way Station place is all about. So Tim, I'm going to turn the audio a little bit louder, and I hope it's going to be coming through. And you can
just waiting for the
delay. There we go. About a 6 or 8 second delay. And I'll let people listen to it. I know that the volume might be quite loud in relation to the voices, but I'd really dig for you to tell people about how you come up with the tunes. There's stories about the different instruments that you've made that are from parts that are conceivably one can find in the post-apocalyptic Western Australia. So yeah, let us know a little bit about this tune and sort of what inspired it.
Sure, yeah. You can pull it down just a little bit. Sorry, I just had to wait for the catch-up so I could hear it on the... Yeah, that's good. That'll be good. Yeah, so initially, when we started talking to people at PAX and Discord and whatnot, they were asking me what I was going to do for the soundtrack, and I said, well, what's the sound of Australia? And I said to them, what's the sound of Australia? And, no one can really come up with a definitive sort of sound, so I just thought, well, what's the situation for the musicians? Well, the situation is they might have some real instruments left over from before the apocalypse, but chances are they probably have to make their own as well, which is what people did 100 years before us when they were inventing them. So I just started building little instruments here and there, like a cigar box guitar. I made a bamboo flute. That was pretty fun. Sampled that. What else have we got? Like a little kalimba. And just little things here and there, little shakers and whatnot that just sort of give a authentic sound, I suppose, that is not just... It's not just all guitars and pianos. Of course, those are in there because those instruments will survive, definitely. But just having these extra little instruments here and there just help add little textures that you wouldn't usually hear or exist. So that really helps define the sound of Broken Roads more around the world situation rather than, whether it's supposed to sound jazzy or bluesy or post-apocalyptic. It's not really about going for a specific genre sound, just what's more reflective of the instruments that the musicians would have around them. And that's been really fun to explore, for sure.
Cool. All right. I mean, there's so many tracks that we'll show off later. Jump around to a couple of scenes, and I'm just going to take care of this Merc and get into
Ian.
Exactly. So Ian is he's a hired gun, but he's not part of the scouts. He's basically just the mercenary who's been hired to watch over and take care of Kokobi. That young lady I was talking to earlier, that was Tina. Now she's the teenage. She basically runs the trading merchant hub that we're at right now. She hired him to help protect the place. But he's beginning to get a little bit heavy-handed. He's being, a bit of a pest, let's say. And she said, "Look, now that you three are here, is there any way that you can go and, convince him to, basically bugger off?" So, got the quest together, run over to him, and what I also want to show here is that there are ways to get through the quests that don't involve conflict or a moral decision. You can use your talents or your skills or your attributes, or you can literally just bribe someone. So for example, I'm going to tell him that Tina wants him to move. We've got these moral options that can kind of start taking us down a particular direction, but I'm just going to see like what else is it going to take. And he's like, well, look, I've got a contract, you know, and Merc's word is his mouth and whatever. So he's going to have to come up with a new name. So we're going to go with that. We're just like, fuck it, who is this guy? We don't care. And if he does want to get a bit heavy, I've got two armed scouts and I'm a hired gun with a shotgun in my back myself, you know. But what I'm going to do is instead just bribe the guy, you know. He says $50 or that gun. Obviously, I'm not going to get rid of my gun right now, so I'll just pay him, you know, and off he's gone. Now that's a protracted bribe experience to kind of demo to in the early game, but this will be one of the routes.
I definitely prefer the other option. It's more fun.
We'll get there in a future stream as well. Yeah.
Someone on Steam, sorry, Craig. Patrician Pete wants to know if there's any didgeridoo. There is heaps of didgeridoo in the soundtrack. I actually recorded a lot of didge tracks from a local elder from where I live, up in central Queensland, or Durumble is the country name, and yeah, I recorded some didge tracks of him years ago, and he said for any projects you got coming up, you know, he'd love for them to be all across it. So I use those quite a bit, and it adds a lot of atmosphere. Didgeridoo through delays and reverbs. Oof, such a lush sound. Yeah. So hopefully it'll translate really well, which I think it does.
What scene comes to mind? Because I'll kind of skip ahead of in terms of the narrative now. What scene comes to mind that might have some of the didge?
Well, Caravan has it a lot. And I don't know if I think we've only got that playing on the title screen. Okay. That would probably be a really good one to put out there for people on our YouTube or whatnot.
Cool.
I think because that was really one of the first tracks that sounded like Broken Roads. I think you'll agree, Craig,
definitely.
when I wrote Caravan at the very start, it was like, okay, this sounds like what this game looks like. And it's just kind of gone from there. So
yeah, cool. What I'll do then after this is we can figure out a time where we can do like a dedicated audio stream. You can show off some of those instruments. We can jump through the different tracks.
Yeah, for sure.
You can talk
Definitely.
Cool. So now I've just jumped ahead into Brookton. You know, from this point on, the narrative's going to break because technically you wouldn't be able to get here at this time. But I just want to show a little bit more of the map, a little bit more of the available places in the map, and some of Tim's different tracks. So let me know if you need me to adjust the audio again, Tim.
Yep.
And you can kind of just maybe with Brookton, or if there's another example I can jump to, it's something where you can kind of describe how the sound for that track came from the inspiration for the scene, or how the writers described it and described the scene and pitched the idea of what it should feel like. Sort of...
Bally Hall is probably a really good example of that, which we've already been to.
Yeah. I'll jump back there, and you can. I'll just turn the volume up a little bit while I run around it.
Sure. I just remember you telling me that it's like a fortress. You know, it's the hall is in the middle, and all of the fences around the outside. So I was just like, you know, what kind of animal is like that? I was like a jellyfish, you know, big jellyfish just sort of floating along with its tendrils out saying, you know, keep away, I'm a fortress, but I will catch you for food if you come too close, sort of thing. And I just kind of started writing it off that. There's little twinkly licks on the guitar that are just like the tendrils, you know, floating out. And overall, it's got like a really lazy sort of, what's the right word?
Well, it gives off the vibe, you know, that it's meant to be secure on the inside, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And
it's like I'm comfortable within my own skin sort of thing, but you should be warned, you know, don't come too close.
Listen to that a little bit while I run around and check out the junk piles and so on.
It's definitely one of my favorite tracks. I think Jellyfish was one of the first early ones where a lot of people were really on board with it. I don't have any. We've got the most unusual naming conventions. Where we've got jellyfish, rock, paper, lizards. A lot of them based around animals, actually.
Yep.
Which, I mean, when you think about Australia, one of the first things that pops into people's head is kangaroos and emus. The wildlife is so iconic. And we have such a diverse range of wildlife and plant life too. I think one of the most diverse in the world, yeah.
I've just remembered where we are. We have this pub.
Oh.
So I cranked it up a little bit so we can hear this track. Audio Sally's up to right now.
So yeah, this is Caravan, and this has a lot of dig in it. The actual dig itself is, it might be different from area to area, but Barry, the local elder, was telling me that is the dingo call. It's one of my favourites that he recorded for me.
So this is the pub. I'm not sure if it's going to come through clearly enough. I hope it does, but just turn it down a little bit. So we've used a bunch of iconic beer brands. While we're not necessarily going to have drug use per se, the Australian Classifications and Ratings Board doesn't look too kindly upon that. We're looking into how can we use beers in the same way. Like, how can we just have all these different, recognizable but non-copyright infringing beers and recognizable labels and brands and so forth that would do the same thing as what players of Fallout and so on might be used to in the way of stim packs and mentats and all that kind of thing, because drugs are bad, and apparently if you represent them in your video game, people
if you pretend they don't exist, then they don't exist.
Absolutely. So. And if it's been proven that if you show a certain something in the game, then people are going to immediately go out and copy everything that they play, everything that they see. So we're doing the right thing, and we're saving the youth of tomorrow by getting them onto beer instead of bad drugs. Causing us a quick look around. This is one of the vehicles. Now, we saw Cole earlier. He was the mechanic at Bally Hall that we escorted to Kokobi. This is his tanker and workstation. When you reach a particular point, Cole is able to upgrade things for you. He's able to be kind of like the smith that would put together, say, unique items and so on. There isn't crafting so much as a recipe-like system, which he'll say, hey, okay, if you can get me, this ingredient, I can make you a unique gun, for example. Or he can improve, some of your equipment and so on. Let's just talk to Jess. So this is Jess. Now, she's the cameleer. Camels are a major part of this game as well, because there are over 500,000 feral camels running around in Australia. Something that I learned when I got here. People don't always associate Australia with camels, but they're everywhere, and they're super, super hardy beasts, and they would survive in the post-apocalypse better than horses and so forth. Camels can survive a hell of a long time without water, just eating like dry shrubs and that kind of thing. And as beasts of burden, they can pull carts and they can carry people, and we've even seen camels that have got like a solar panel set up on the back of them to charge what the user, what the cameleer is using. So yeah, we've kind of taken that and run with it.
When it works, it works.
Knocked Alana out the way there. Sorry, Alana. Cool. Let's have a look at somewhere else, because I've broken the narrative. Maybe we can. Let's have a look at Ardath. So this is the place that we haven't actually shown off yet. It was in our screenshot Saturday that went out, well, a few hours ago or last night, depending on where in the world you are. Spoilery, not so much as teasery. When we were showing off quite a lot of the early game of Broken Roads, it is more green than one might understand or might think if they've been if the person looking at it has been more of a Fallout player or has been playing post-apoc and has the thought, oh, it's like Mad Max or it's like Fallout or it's whatever. We've located ourselves, at least the the level of post-apocalypse between, say, the first two Mad Max movies. People have not completely turned to the outright savagery you might see, say, in Mad Max 2 or 3 or Fury Road. And so there are these settlements of, farmers and survivors and people trying to do their best in the world. Like, the game's meant to start off in an ultra-realistic view of what would these people actually be doing in a post-apocalyptic Australia. How would people be rebuilding, and how would people be doing their best? But as you venture further away from the starting locations, things get a little bit more crazy, a little bit more out there, a little bit more savage, as you can see from the thugs that have set something up over here. Won't be giving too much away, and also the awesome.
You can infer a lot from
exactly.
From,
like you can figure out what's going on.
You know what's going on.
Exactly. This is a place called Ardath, and again, like Bally Hall, if you were to look up the Ardath Hotel, obviously this is work in progress. First revealed characters aren't all in the scene yet. If you were to look up the Ardath Hotel and compare it to what the artists have done an absolutely brilliant job of recreating in here, and artists being artists are going to do awesome things like that. Speaking of the artists, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. AEST, chuck that in a time zone converter because daylight savings have already screwed around with Tim and myself today. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. AEST, there's going to be a live stream with the Broken Roads art team, and they'll be talking about this. They'll be talking about environments, characters, VFX, and level design. So definitely check that one out if you're into video game art. But for this one, hey, if you're curious, look up the Ardath Hotel, compare it to what they've done. You'll see, like, okay, cool. This is what's going on in this location. Tim, is this the tune for Ardath, or is this a stand-in?
No, it's currently a stand-in.
Down a little bit. Is anything happening in the chat at all?
No, not at the moment. No, it's too early for gamers.
There were a couple of questions in the AMA that we didn't have time for yesterday.
Oh yeah, sure.
You were able to dig out a couple of those.
Yep.
While I run around Ardath, which is
you want me to get them from the Discord AMA?
I'll send you a link on Slack.
Okay.
It's sitting on the conference. This has definitely got your Alderside team. So Alderside's a farming community. It's not too far from Brookton nor Bally Hall, where the game begins. And if you are a surveyor, your origin story has more to do with this town. Like the other scenes that we showed you, this is the church in in Alderside. So if you were to look this up as well, you'd see, yep, these are, they're not like for like perfect, because we don't want the player to have to run around watching their character for 10 minutes, get from one side to the other, because we've been so spot on with distances and sizes and so forth. But for the most part, the places are they're authentic. The colors represent the colors, especially like the ground, the painting and the groundwork. There is the
it's amazing how brown and yuck Australia really is. Our palette is not very pretty.
It's got its own beauty for sure.
For sure.
Going around, and then we have to thank Leanne Taylor-Giles, our narrative lead, for insisting that everyone has toilets. So she's not wrong. So we've got some great portaloos and so forth going on. All right.
I've got a question here.
Yeah, totally.
From Slater. He said, will there be some kind of neo-colonial faction, sort of like the Minutemen in Fallout 4, but Aussie?
Look, we've got the Scouts. I wouldn't say that they're neo-colonial at all. They definitely have a mashup of genuine the Australian Defence Force, right? That's the name of the army over here. And their uniforms, weapons, and so forth are definitely inspired by, and the coloration stuff was inspired by the Australian military, but they're also sort of mashed up with doomsday preppers. And as you get to meet them and uncover their personalities more, you'll sort of see what their worldview is like as, say, third or fourth generation from a lineage of preppers that are heavily influenced by the military. But in terms of a neo-colonial faction that way, not entirely. We've definitely taken leaves out of many other games that we've been influenced by, but doing our own thing to set them apart. So yeah, this is the town of Alderside, and as you can see, we've got some awesome animations from James, which I'm just going to zoom in on.
Yeah, that looks so good.
Yeah. So over here, it used to be that while we were going through vertical slice, while we were going through development, we set all these props up, and they just kind of sat there for a while we were working on, the world and the characters and the overall story, and testing out the moral compass and all that. And then we've had James Giles on the team for the last few months, who's been just bringing everything to life. So Ryan, our VFX artist, has been doing, say, the grass that you can see blowing in the wind, and James has been, just giving a little bit more life to basically the characters and the scenes.
It's amazing what a little bit of movement can
Absolutely.
do for a scene.
Absolutely.
Completely flip it on its head.
Yeah, exactly.
Jaybringer wants to know how many tracks are there, and will the soundtrack be available to purchase? In terms of how many tracks there will be, hard to say, to be honest. Tens of tens.
Tens of tracks.
Tens of tracks. There's at least two. And if it will be available to purchase, I don't know. That's entirely up to Craig.
We definitely have a look at that. There's all things that we can do, like pre-order incentives or bonuses or add-ons or whatever. I mean, this music is so good. Just claim it. Let's get through this stuff.
I have written a lot of it in the context of listening to it without the game too. So hopefully there's like an easy listening sort of element to it, so people can enjoy that outside of just the game itself. So hopefully it'll translate well to just listenable audio. He also said, not sound related question, but will there be an option to increase the font size of the dialogue?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we've got our defaults and our standards, and we've got a lot of usability testing that we're still planning to do. But everything from font size, what is displayed on the moral compass, like for example, as you saw earlier, we're revealing a preview of where you're going to move and the quadrant that it's in. We're probably going to hide that by default, but allow players to turn that back on if they prefer. Font size, a colorblind mode, all of the accessibility options that we're doing are kind of escaping me right now, but absolutely, like that's these are just things that should be standard in games at the moment. And
for sure.
Broken Roads is going to be the same. Somebody was saying yesterday that they may wish to turn the moral options to be revealed because they may not fully understand the social cues, or they might just prefer the game that way. So we're going, cool, here's how the game was designed or intended to be played. Choose these sliders. There won't be any sliders and options and tick boxes to make it however you want. There won't be like penalties to that. We'll just have, hey, here's how we thought you might like it, but change it up if you prefer. Cool. Tell us a bit about this track, because this is one of the central moments. We're not going to spoil anything more than a plane has crashed, but they haven't flown for over 100 years. So exactly. How the hell could there be a plane here? And there is a bit of mystery, and there is a bit of, we'll show that off soon. I think we want the player to be able to discover a few things to themselves. We've shown off quite a few scenes. So I'm going to run away from the plane, but I'll turn the volume up a little bit more because I think this is one that really, really brought it together when
very ambient. Yeah. I remember you describing the scene to me and how eerie that this huge plane was just sitting there on fire. Like, what the hell is going on? Why is this even happening? And I just went pure ambient with the track. The track itself is called Ambient One. It's never had a different name. We've always joked about that. But I wanted it to feel eerie, really pull you in and like we have to investigate this. You know, what's going on here? What's this huge thing doing on the ground? How did it get here? A lot of mystery. There's a lot of mystery in this scene for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This one, I think, was the first time that we saw like the whole package together. Ryan's VFX,
it used to be our benchmark scene. For
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see there's a little bit of mist there. We've got the environment effects. We have the. There we go. So now that I'm running closer, you can hear the creaking windmill.
Once again, those animations from James just.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So so this was like a really big kind of, I wouldn't call it a test scene so much as the one that was the first one to have all the ingredients together, because what you uncover later.
Yeah, you could genuinely get a feel for what the Broken Rose experience was going to be like. It's sort of, this was the defining scene, the way I feel about it anyway. Yeah.
Cool. I am going to run somewhere else because too much more, and you start to kick off events that we are.
We don't
show
want
off right now.
So, Liquid Colin wants to know what had to be cut from the morality wheel.
Cut not so much as just down scoping, I suppose. So get out of this section. In that, bring that down a little bit. You might want to have a moral trait that does this, and an option that also does. Let's check that to play. There we go. Each time you add another feature into the moral compass, or anything really, you exponentially increase the amount of testing and the amount of potential things that can go wrong, and basically just blow up the scope of the development, the amount of QA time, and inevitably the stuff that's unaccounted for when there's 36,000 possible places that a decision on the moral compass can be, and the balancing of the different traits that might open up new dialogue options or give you a unique ability in combat or affect your stats in a particular way. So it's just kind of downscaling how many of those we might have wanted, as the game has kind of changed from the initial conception of being quite a tactics and combat heavy experience to, we're going to focus more on the narrative and combat that supports the narrative. We've cut a few of the moral options that directly affected your stats. If this was a tactical game and you're composing a party for the right battles, obviously there's still quite a bit of combat. We're going to have a lot of ways to either avoid combat or do different things within combat, and your combat skills are important, and all of the companions will definitely fit an RPG archetype, but how much of that is moral compass bound, we've sort of had to make it lean a little bit heavier on the dialogue as we've gone on.
Patricia Pete in Steam asks, is the world map shown here the full map? You must have had the world map.
Hell no. This is the this is not at all the full map. This is a debug only. It's not accessible to players during the origin stories. This is totally just something that we use to shortcut around instead of a console command. It doesn't really even extend past just the opening area. And what you can see of these locations, again, it's really just for us to be able to jump through the core scenes more so than be a reflection of what's coming. There's actually a lot that's not shown off here, quite intentionally. Cool. I'll trigger this again. All right, these boys are going back to the pub. Cheers, see you later. Cool. Alright, let's keep going.
Yeah, so 80 wants to know how many different endings are there.
Cool. So we're planning for definitely multiple. There's 4 moral quadrants, but there's quite a range within those, and then there's quite a lot that you can do kind of on the border of each quadrant, if that makes sense as well. So hey, I could say right now there's kind of 4 paths that each have variation within them, and let's sort of see how we go once we're done testing the game, and it's game dev, and I say something in September or October 2021. That's totally different by the time the game ships next year. I mean, we've got the endings written, we've got the character paths and the various outcomes, but yeah, it comes down to a testing thing and a balancing thing. And does this really feel rewarding after a 25-hour experience, which is kind of what we're aiming for, the average playthrough. You can speed run it fast and it'll take you longer if you try to do everything, all the side quests, and explore every conversation. But yeah, just think of it 4 with a number of variations. Cool. What have we uncovered here? What haven't I had a look at? The whole south side of town. Look at the WA gazebos. These are everywhere, and some of them in the towns that we went and had a look at, they actually have a time capsule buried right in the center of the gazebo. So there might be some unique items to scavenge if you can find all those gazebos for people who like collector-muffs.
Seno wants to know, of course this is a Seno question, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Well, the woodchucks didn't really make it out of the fire. So if they had made it out the fire, they could probably chuck a reasonable amount of wood. Jess, our producer, would reduce the amount of wood because of how long it's going to take to model the wood, balance the wood, test the wood. So you'll probably find that there'll be the woodchuck DLC that can answer all those questions. Right now, I'm just really
There's
sorry.
so many
I'm
good
just
beers.
pour out a craft beer for all of our woodchuck friends that didn't make it.
Poor woodchucks.
Also, I don't even know if you get them in this country, do you?
I don't think so.
How many?
I've never heard of.
How much wood would a possum chuck? If a possum could chuck wood.
Oh, possums just chuck fruit around everywhere. You got a bird feeder on your back deck, possums will demolish it. Okay, so this one's not necessarily broken roads related, but game development. What fluff, junk, knick-knack do you have on your desk that you need there? If you move your desk or set up, these things have to go with you.
This is the number one that's always there. You can probably tell which game it comes from. This has been with me for quite a few years now, given to me by a friend, Eric, from a game designer from CCP Games. We worked on Valkyrie together, and that was a parting gift. And it's been on, well, every desk and every office I've had for the last 5 years. So that's one, and then there's a few notepads, and I actually have this as well. This doesn't live on my desk, but it's kind of occupying some space for at least the last 6 months or so. The guide to the original Fallout, definitely an inspiration for this game. And that, while not permanent, definitely been occupied right there for some time now. Yeah, what about you?
Mine's boring. I just have guitar picks everywhere, like an abundance of guitar picks.
What kind of person are you that would have
hundreds of them? It's so frustrating when you're looking for a guitar pick and you can't find one. So I remedy that just by throwing them at the desk and just using them as I see fit. Other than that, I don't really have much. I mean, it changes every time I move my desk. I'll put a new thing on. Got an actual koala head like pen holder.
Oh, that's
cool.
a drop
my
bear
niece
sorts,
for my birthday. Exactly. Not as scary as our drop bear, but still pretty cute. I am so messy, so any kind of thing that helps me put all the messy things into one spot, I will use constantly. Like the koala head, for example.
Nice.
That's a good one. That was from 80. There's a few questions here that I would love to ask, but it's too spoilery.
Okay.
It's just too spoilery.
Cool.
Patrician Pete wants to know, can you play cricket? You can't. Well, there is a dog near the cricket pitch. I don't know if you clicked on the dog. Or any of the cats.
I did, but I don't know if it would have been audible over the thing. Look, we don't have cricket playable just yet. There are definitely cricket bats, and you can make some pretty cool weapons out of cricket bats. Mad, the scout who was sitting up in the watchtower, she's actually got a a nicely modded bat with barbed wire and blades and
circular saw blade.
Circular saw blades. That's
awesome.
Our concept artist.
I mean, a cricket bat on its own is deadly enough.
A cricket bat will do it, but
and you add the rest.
Exactly. Here's a quick look. I don't think we've actually shown this screen yet today.
No, the inventory. Yeah.
All of the UI is subject to change, and all of the normal disclaimers you get this long before launch. But we've got a simple trading system where we allow the player to just dump what they want, make it a deal. In this instance, what we were offering was worth more than what Tina was. So I think people familiar with, say, Divinity Original Sin, similar games where you don't have to micromanage and drag cash across and do all those kinds of things. And you just click the button, make it a deal, confirm if you want. And now I'm going to sell her some meat, which could be emu, could be Roo, or could be one of your mates. And
I was about to say, it could be human.
Exactly. It all tastes like chicken, and sometimes it's best not to ask questions while you're getting that 10 HP and not starving today. So yes. A pretty pragmatic approach. Meat is meat, a man must eat, they say. And now I have just made that purchase. Cool. Oh, and there we go. It is stream fun times, where we've encountered the game-breaking bug. Closing trade has locked us into chat with Tina. Look, it's getting onto the hour. Are there any other questions that are non-spoilery? And then we can get into those before we wrap up the stream.
Someone, who else have you cast for voice? So we haven't really talked about VO too much.
Yeah,
we've got Jack Charles, of course.
Yeah. So Jack Charles is you can hear his voice in the trailer. Legendary Australian actor, an elder from Melbourne. He's going to be one of the key First Nations people in one of the communities and play quite a major role. So the character that he's playing. Then we've got Amy Smith, who you can hear in our original reveal trailer, as well as the PAX Online demo that we put out. Both of those are on YouTube. And we've been looking around and casting a few more. I think we need to get a little bit further along in terms of knowing word counts, knowing how much of the dialogue we want voice, because it's not going to be a fully voiced game.
It's not the whole thing, is it?
No, absolutely not. I think that looking at, again, Baldur's Gate is a really good example where you have a few key lines. So say when you meet someone, and then their box and their selection box and key moments, so that after enough hearing what they sound like, you begin to sort of read in that character's tone or read in that character's voice. But no, we're still a long way off from finalizing the voice cast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we can, we'd like to get known figures like Uncle Jack and proven talent like Amy, and we'll just we'll see what the next few months bring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
How many hours do you think a standard run of Broken Rose will be? We've talked about that. What do you say about?
Aiming for 25 hours, and probably gonna be able to hit that. Most likely.
Yeah. Cool. Liquid Colin wants to know where babies come from. He could probably just ask.
I think that's a Google question.
That's a Google question.
They come from pouches, kangaroo pouches, obviously, brought in.
So it is a good one. Do you have to remove any content from the game because only Aussies would get it, and thus wouldn't translate well to players in the rest of the world? Which I think cultures like British culture and Australian culture in particular definitely have these things happen. I think maybe Americans just don't, pick up on them as much. But yeah, for sure.
Well, what we've got is a sort of a glossary where, if you don't understand the slang, or you don't know the meaning of a word, or you don't know what is this, what town is this, you can kind of look at that encyclopedia and glossary and understand those things. And if we do it well, it'll be like, pop culture references in other media, where if you get it, it's cool, and if you don't get it, it's not so jarring that it doesn't make any sense. But we want to make this authentically Australian, and if there are a few things that go over people's heads and a few references that people miss, they can hopefully dig a bit deeper, or Google something, or check if there's an entry in the encyclopedia about it. And hopefully people just in Discord get chatting, or on forums and Reddit and stuff can ask about these things that they encounter.
I know I've played games in the past that have been based around other cultures that I've known nothing about, and just by reading the dialogue or whatever, I then myself will go that extra step and look up those words and see what they mean, just out of sheer curiosity. And so I'm sure people are going to do the same with this.
Yeah, totally. And again, that's where usability testing can come in, because we absolutely want to lean in on the stereotypes and have fun. I know my experience in the last almost 5 years of being here and everything I've known of Australian friends before was, generally people that don't always take everything too seriously, nor themselves too seriously, and there's a lot to joke about, and there's a lot to mess around with, and a general good sense of humor, and that's part of the, we've got a lot of heavy themes, a lot of tough choices, and some serious moments in this game that's trying to paint a semi-realistic post-apocalyptic future. And that humor brings a bit of levity, that not too serious stuff that kind of thing can break up the very, very heavy and heady narrative, which we definitely take the player through at times. So, yeah. Cool. Well, look, it's been an hour, and the dialogue has just frozen because it just simply has to do this on our first broken code. Yeah, I am going to move the mouse over and get out of this one. And cool, look, we will be doing a lot more of these videos going forward. The game is now coming to a state where we're going to be proud enough and happy enough to show off, the quests and the combat and the character creation, all those things that we're now busy just sort of fine-tuning, reworking the UI, redesigning certain elements of combat, and adding more art and adding more portraits and adding more characters and models and scenes and so forth. And Tim and I are going to get a little bit more active with this kind of thing. Don't know how often just yet, but definitely look out for more videos like this and more live streams and more sort of pre-recorded packages and stuff to kind of show off the game and do sort of a dev diaries approach that we feel that the project's in a place where we can now really start doing that regularly.
And if there's things that you want to see, if there's something specific that you'd really like to know more about for us to go a bit in depth, let us know.
Yeah,
maybe it's something we can explore.
Cool, awesome. So yeah, big thanks to Team 17, Creative Victoria, and Film Victoria for helping us get to this point, and for the team putting together the Melbourne International Games Week. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Lots of other streams, lots of great indies coming out of Australia at the moment. So check out those other games as well. And obviously, hey, if you like what you see, please wishlist on Steam, because that's always the most helpful and useful thing you can do for indie developers. Cool. Thanks very much. Catch you again sometime.
Bye all.